Are you losing your focus? Are you losing your focus? It's a serious question because your focus is your experience, and everything everywhere is designed to very precisely, very subtly capture your focus for as long as possible. They do this because they realize something we often don't take the time to think about. Focus is valuable. Statistics show that on average we spent about 147 minutes per day on social media alone. That's compared to an average of 90 minutes a decade earlier. Does all this attention and attention grabbing feel overwhelming? Or does it feel like there's not enough time for anything? What about losing focus in a bigger sense? Do you feel like you're losing meaning? Hi, I'm Escape. Stick around and we'll get to the bottom of our focus crisis and hopefully how to fix it. We start this journey with the principle of opportunity cost. If you haven't heard of the term, then don't worry. It's something you've experienced firsthand in decision making. Opportunity cost is an economic principle of scarcity, where in order to do one thing at a given point in time, not only do we have to give up our time and resources to access that thing, but we also have to give up all other opportunities that we could have pursued at the same point in time. So a classic example is how a farmer decides to use his land. He can plant some crops, or he can choose to keep it for grazing his cattle, or maybe a balance between the two. But the more he chooses of the one, the more he gives up of the other. Now let's look at an example that's more applicable to real life. Many teenagers and adults have to grapple with the decision of what career to pursue. If you become a teacher, you give up on the opportunity of becoming, say, a doctor at the same time, or vice versa. No matter what we choose, there will always be opportunities or paths that we could have chosen, because living means that we take all the infinite potential and uncertainty of the future and constrain it to a single path. Our focus also works on the principle of opportunity cost. When we choose to look at our screen for 30 minutes, we give up on doing something else in that time. Sometimes the opportunities that we put off repeat themselves. I can always go to the gym tomorrow. But sometimes they don't. You may miss the chance to deepen a relationship or permanently put off learning something new because you just aren't prepared to make the sacrifice. We need to start thinking differently about our focus. We can only spend so much time actively engaged, if at all, on activities each day. So where we allocate this focus budget is very important. Like an investment, some things we focus on will compound over time and work towards the future. Other things will help enrich our present and help us relax, which is equally important, but some things cause us to shrink and crumble, however imperceptibly. You might have seen or heard some people carrying a coin with a skull and an inscription on it with the phrase Memento Mori. It reads, "Remember that you will die." This harks back to a practice of ancient philosophers and thinkers, where they would contemplate their inevitable death, and it helped them to reflect on what's truly important. It reminds us that we have limited time, and how we choose to spend our daily focus budget should be well considered. Why is our focus getting worse? Undoubtedly, one of the most crucial skills to surviving in the modern world is knowing how to spend our focus budget, because it's actually getting harder and harder to focus. Author and journalist Johann Hari argues in his book Stolen Focus that it's becoming more difficult, and we are facing an onslaught on our focus like never before. Studies show that the rate at which new information is being generated and processed is increasing at a drastic rate. Everything needs to be faster. Our news, our transport, our computers, and our entertainment. Some studies even suggest that on average, people in cities are even walking faster than decades before. One devastating effect about all of this is that we fall into a trap of rapidly switching between different tasks. Because everything seems so interesting, and we hunt the short dopamine fix. However, this is teaching us the habit of self-interruption, which is bad for productivity because we struggle to stay invested in any one task for long. Studies show that the average office worker switches tasks around every 3 minutes, and it's even less so for college students. In another book called Flow, it's argued that some of the most meaningful moments in our lives happen when we get in a state of uninterrupted focus. Think about sports, hobbies, your work, or even your family time. This is important because you're getting This self-interruption habit we've learned means that we're getting less uninterrupted time at any one thing, which would suggest that we're arguably getting less meaning into our lives. Personally, I've noticed that I tend to interrupt my music sessions and reading by glancing at my phone and checking what new updates have come through, and this switching has a cost because it degrades the whole experience. Johann Hari makes another interesting point in his book. Part of the problem, he says, is that the system is rigged. Big companies are optimizing their systems for profit, not well-being. Or put in a different way, the products and services of these companies evolve in such a way that it generates the most profit first and your well-being second. You might think, what's the problem? Companies won't succeed unless they give the customer what they want. I enjoy my social media and tech. Give me more! Well, Hari argues that companies are playing on our psychology and manipulating us into wanting and needing to use their products. An example of this would be the infinite scroll. Previously, many information apps and social media platforms had a small button placed on the bottom of the screen, giving you the choice to move on to the next page of content or not. Big tech company engineers have since done away with this option, opting for an infinite scroll that never reminds or asks you if you want to keep on going. The result is that many users are spending longer on these apps than they would have if reminded that they had a choice. Remember, these apps are optimizing for profit, not your well-being. This leads us to an interesting philosophical question. Is exploiting our psychology for profit a bad thing? Again, some might say, so what? They're giving us what we want, so that's great, right? Others might say that they're shaping and manipulating our needs to choose their app in the sea of other opportunities. How to regain control. For starters, we can train our minds through meditation. This can help us to be less prone to distractions since we train our minds to notice when distraction happens and to not hang on to it. It doesn't have to be part of any religious systems and can be more practical like walking meditation. I would recommend the Headspace or Calm app for this, links in the description. The flip side of meditation is that you're also cultivating a greater mindfulness, to be more engaged and present, and thereby getting more out of every experience. We might also consider changing our environments, so this would mean removing distractions. For example, placing your phone and devices out of sight or even out of reach when working on something important, even going as far as storing it in a locked timer, or making commitment to family and friends to spend uninterrupted time with them. Second to last is changing systems. We can work towards a subscription-based model instead of an advertising model, as it's argued that one reason why these apps try their best to make sure that we never leave the screen is because they get more ad revenue the longer we are on there. However, if we pay fixed subscriptions per month, this could help move towards a model where apps better serve our interests. This option may involve larger scale action with activists and lobbyist groups. Other regulations we can also consider is to change the exact way these apps work. Lastly, better education on social media usage, starting in school and even for adults as well. It's especially important for children since they're most susceptible to forming new habits and addictive behavior. In conclusion, there is an opportunity cost to everything. There are consequences. We need to take our focus seriously. We need to learn one of the most important soft skills of our time. Like an effective leader learns to direct his followers, we need to learn to manage and direct our focus in the maelstrom of information and noise. Take your focus seriously, because focus is experience. Hi, please let me know what your experience with focus has been, and if you liked this video, please watch out for some more interesting content and like and subscribe. It would mean a lot. Cheers.